Okay. Ahem. Can we full screen that too? Pick up the pickup loop on the computer too. Oh no. Did I mess up? No, I didn't. Okay. Here, I need to play. Okay. Was not it? Whatever. Let me go back to the title screen and guided access. Because it's useful to not swipe away. Alright. So, nobody's joined the chat yet as far as I can see, but if you're just going to be trickling in, I'm going to get started regardless, because this is going to be joining my theory video collection rather than being just any old live video. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about Master Odin and, by extension, Master Luxu and Brain and Bragi and Xigbar and all that. But the primary focus on the presentation will be Master Odin. And then everything will make sense as we go through it. I promise I'm not in La La Land. I promise this isn't some asinine theory. By the end of this, it all makes sense, and you'll be like, oh shit. Kingdom Hearts never ceases to amaze me, and the more you think about it, the more you're just like, wow, they really thought that through, you know? So, moving right along, the purpose of this video, I'm gonna come right out and say it, is that Xigbar isn't Luxu. I could point to the doubt the foretellers expressed when they met up with him, but that doesn't quite sell it. Before Dark Road, I was certain to say Luxu is actually Master Odin. Personally, I don't think it's really debatable that Master Odin put down the title of Master to become Yen Sid, despite not showing it. But despite not showing it, they made it pretty clear not only what they said of him at the end of Dark Road, but also Yen Sid's Gandalf style, or Gandalf-like scene, which Gandalf is also compared to the Norse Odin. Odin, Gandalf, and Yen Sid share a great commonality. They're all this wandering wizard archetype, you know. At the end of Dark Road, with the Bragi reveal, I asked myself, did I get it wrong? Was I wrong about everything? Was he... Because beforehand, you know, if you guys watched the Jack a Dandy Stranger, I explicitly had a part in the video where I said, I think that Luxu is Master Odin. And there's a reason I thought that, but I couldn't quite, grasp that. It's weird. Everything, the way it all makes sense is, when you realize that Xigbar isn't who he says he is, and that there's more people at play than just, Luxu surviving through the end of time, then you start to understand, how this all works. And you know, I gotta say for everybody coming into this this is, hold on, I think this is maybe feedback looping. Oh, no, I don't want it to be too loud. I don't need to hear my computer. I apologize for anybody if that was a problem or anything. The thing about all of this is, you want to see compelling motivations at the end of the day for every character in Kingdom Hearts, you know. So allow me to walk you through why I think that Yen Sid is Luxu at the end of the day, or Odin, or that these three characters are the same people. Okay, so the most direct evidence that I can show you is in the scene 7 and 13 with the Master of Masters and I don't remember the name of the scene. It's where Odin speaks with Vidar. Odin says here that he knows the information that the 7 most powerful darknesses were sealed within the Master. Like, he knows how many there are. Like, this was something that the Union leaders couldn't really gather data for themselves. This was something that the Master of Masters told Luxu. So unless Luxu, like, passed this down by word of mouth during the age of Missing Link, then that would be the case. But you're also dealing with this classroom of students who a lot of information is actually kept from them. They're not even allowed to go to the outside world until they have this quest put upon them. So covered word of mouth. So moving right along, Master Odin wields the Master Defender, while no name sits above the classroom as it's not in use. Odin uses no name only when he has to handle the threat of the darkness entity. So the no name Keyblade isn't necessarily the one Odin was using, but he was using the Master Defender. Like, the no name was sitting above the classroom playing. It's not in use. Like, there's a reason that nobody's really touching it right now. But the situation is dire. And there might be a power that specific Keyblade has that is useful in dealing with these darknesses. I know back in Kingdom Hearts of Union Cross, we actually saw Luxu preparing to clash with a darkness and while wielding no name. So maybe he has prior knowledge that at least using this Keyblade will be strong enough to keep the enemies at bay. Oh, hey, Captain Kai popped in. Hell yeah. What's going on, bro? The mouse in your thumbnail is cursed. I love it. Isn't it, though? Okay. So yeah, I'm pretty much going over Master Odin right now. Let me get back right where I was. So Odin is the Allfather of Norse mythology, and like, what you have to understand is that Walt Disney is the Allfather of Walt Disney Animation, and Yen Sid was modeled after Walt Disney. So the comparison is pretty clear and direct. Like, this is the guy who made these cartoons, you know. So we're talking about a time before, like, we even see Disney Castle in Kingdom Hearts as like a force of like almost guardianship and stewardship of the universe, you know what I mean? So, like, why did this power come to be? Like, why is Mickey Mouse in charge of protecting the cornerstone of light? You know what I mean? These are the deeper questions we should be asking here about Yen Sid and his connection to all this. And it really revolves around Walt Disney at the end of the day. So, moving right along, and now I've got a motive. So at the end of Dark Road, Odin is okay. Odin's like depressed at the end of Dark Road. There's no other way to really put it. Like, 11 of his children is like the children he was in charge of protecting, guiding, nourishing, and flourishing into Keyblade Masters. They straight up died because he was too, I don't know, reserved, or too like, oh shit, when's it gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, he wasn't quickly involved in dealing with the matter. You know what I mean? And because of that, he's going to stop being a Keyblade Master. Now, there's only one person we know that fits this whole fucking motive path, and that's Yen Sid. Yen Sid, as we know, was once a Keyblade Master, and everybody's still asking, well, when are we going to see that? They fucking showed it to us clear as day in Kingdom Hearts Dark Road. That's exactly what they were trying to convey here, that Master Odin is Yen Sid. They go on to explain that Master Odin wants to settle on a small world far off. Right? It's the Mysterious Tower. The Mysterious Tower is a very small world, and the special thing about it, it's not like any of the other worlds. It kind of floats off and does its own thing throughout the universe. It's the perfect home for a hermit of a Keyblade wielder who said, I no longer am going to be master. You know, it's very clear what they're conveying here. So, you know, what I think happens is, as a failsafe, Master Odin, or Luxu, remember, this is Luxu at the core of it. Master Odin decides, I'm no longer going to do this Keyblade Master thing. I've been doing it too long, because I guarantee he's been doing it since the Missing Link era. I'm no longer going to be a Keyblade Master. Instead, I'm going to basically wander the cosmos in search of wisdom and stuff, you know what I mean? Like, the thing about Keyblade Masters is they have to die almost deliberately. Like, a Keyblade Master is basically immortal. Like, they can always transfer their heart, they can always body hop to prolong their death. So, Odin chooses a new vessel, and of course, that's not to say he just possesses some random schmuck. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe there's compatibility things for choosing a new vessel. I don't know. But at the end of the day, Odin chose his next incarnation as Yen Sid. And that is what happened here. Now, I don't even think, as far as Luxu being Odin goes, I don't think Luxu even bothered taking a new body the first time and just let himself become old like Odin, you know? Odin could be like 200-something years old, and, you know, that's the way it is, you know? These wizards are of grand age, not just, you know, some 70-year-old man, but of 211 or something, you know? Okay, so... Oh, we got more in the chat. Time for a change, bro. It's right there. Time to literally change bodies. Mysterious Tower also reflects the appearance of Scala. If you ever looked at the edge. Well, yeah, like, every world reflects the appearance of Scala. That's the thing about them. Every world has, like a castle domain on top, and, maybe, the villain's hideout on the bottom or on the flip side or whatever, but, the shadows that are around, like Scala ad Kylum, I think are supposed to be oh god, my phone's flipping. I think they're supposed to be the reflections of the other worlds. Kind of like, you remember in 13.2, scattered throughout the timeline, there's shadows of Valhalla. They're almost the same thing as that Scala ad Kylum, those empty land masses that are around the main land mass. Yeah, the hills in the Mysterious Tower definitely reflect that, though. I know I'd seen that, and I think that's why I ended up choosing that image as the cover for this, because you can feel it, you know what I mean, with the imagery. Okay, so moving right along, let's get rid of the bar at the top, or get back into presentation mode. That would be great. Alright, Luxu had explicit concern for the unit leaders. Okay, I went back through and tried to find explicit concern. I really wanted to lessen my tone on that. And but he had general concern for the well-being of these not just children, but even his friends, you know what I mean? The other foretellers. He's like, well, what about them? What about, you know, their happiness and all that? He very tragically and almost futilely, in a fit of futility, says, "You can't do this," and the master's like, "Just shut up and do it." So, like, Luxu is so, like, young and naive here, but they don't show his face. I want you to think about that for a second, like, that, like, why would they not show Luxu's face at all back in this era? Like, if they wanted to, say, like, establish a past and motive for, like, Yen Sid, basically, and, like, bring his and Disney's relevance into this somehow, they'd have to kind of tell the backstory of somebody else without saying directly, oh, it's Yen Sid. Like, maybe there has to be a bridge character for them to be able to say, like, yeah, this character is that character, but that character is Yen Sid, you know what I mean? Like, the only altered depiction of Yen Sid could be Odin, but really Odin was Luxu originally, you know what I mean? But you see how young and how naive Luxu is, you know? He doesn't understand here that the master is telling him, look, throughout time, darkness will find you. You're going to have to deal with it. You're going to have to fight it off. The people you know and love will get possessed. They will die. You know, they're going to lose themselves. And that's something you're going to have to bear the whole way through. And not only that, but you might even have to make the choice to strike them down yourself. And these are the things that the master is really saying to Luxu, literally. But when, you know, it comes to war against this being that can just kind of possess people and make them their own, and the only way to beat them is when they have form, you have to, like, if they possess someone you love, you have to strike down the person you love. There is no other way around it. And it's the sad reality of having to fight off these darknesses. So moving right along, there is also a Nomura interview question that we should be also kind of, it's very telling. Could you explain more about the destiny is so cruel line by Master Odin? Naturally, Master Odin also had a master to mentor him. Said master entrusted Odin with a mission, which ties in with the identity of the blue-robed individual. Okay, so I don't know what to make of the blue-robed individual part. Like, I don't know what to make of how that ties into player's second life necessarily. But I don't think... I do think Odin is Luxu here, and that said master's mission is Master of Masters entrusting Odin with the box. I think Nomura could even be just, like, cheeky here and, like, telling the truth, like, while, like, not telling the truth, you know what I mean? Just veiling very subtly that he's calling Odin Luxu, but nobody really caught on during the interview, you know what I mean? As stated by Nomura interview, Master Odin was given a mission, but without any more context, this implicates Odin as Luxu. Odin, as a Norse god figure, isn't superseded by many other gods because he is the Allfather. And that's something I want to drive home here, is that, like, Odin as, like, the Allfather figure of the Norse pantheon. Who is going to be Master Odin's teacher here? Like, who is, in Norse mythology, who is Odin's teacher? That is a strange one to really wrap my head around. Especially when you've already have the Ragnarok scenario really happening, you know what I mean? I think Odin must be one of the survivors of Daybreak Town, because he's, like, there's one of three people who, in Norse mythology, was around. Okay, so that's the next slide anyways. According to Norse myth, 3 gods were present at the creation of humanity. After Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, there are only 3 direct survivors: Ephemer, Brain, and Luxu. Brain sometime later finds himself warped to the future. As Norse myth goes, the first humans were created by the gods Odin, Honir, and Lodur. Because of this, I am willing to bet Master Odin is a survivor of Daybreak Town and can only be narrowed down to Brain, Luxu or Brain. He could be Ephemer. Maybe Ephemer did live in Odin, you know, but I don't, like, based on how they worded it in the interview, it implies Ephemer did pass away. Maybe from old age. But it's also important to remember that a Keyblade Master can body hop. So if Ephemer became a Keyblade Master, he might just be out there body hopping, you know? You don't know. Like, anything could be possible here. But he, you know, the other option is he chose, like, basically a Keyblade Master can't intentionally die, or can only intentionally die. Like, it's really hard for them to have an accident, I guess. You know what I mean? I don't, like, does that make sense to you? Like, their ability to body hop and stuff. But anyways, like, I'm getting kind of off topic here. Brain sometime later finds himself, blah, 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 blah. I can't picture a young, naive Odin portrayed Missing Link, but I can picture a young and naive Luxu who'd go on to become Odin. Okay. I know I'm speaking kind of fast here. I apologize about that. The thing about, like, Luxu as Odin, like, you look at how naive Luxu is when he has the black cloak on, and then you have a figure like Odin who's old and wise beyond his time, you know, who's more comparable to Master Yensid. Yeah, Master Yensid, I guess, is another way you can put it. He's much more comparable in that regard. But as Luxu, he's not comparable at all. You can't put the same respect on his name because Luxu is still this young boy who hasn't seen shit yet, you know? So, moving right along, Odin is blind in his left eye. The reason remains a mystery. The concept is very indicative of the Master of Masters because, as we know, the Master of Masters' eye is embedded in the Nonian Keyblade. It is further fascinating to note Bragi's right eye became damaged in his fight with Terra. Excuse me, Briggs, not Bragi. Dyslexic read right there, but it's all the same letters. The Norse Odin sacrificed one eye in order to gain cosmic wisdom. Of which was sacrificed, there is no consensus. Bragi, however, didn't sacrifice his eye, and certainly isn't the image of cosmic wisdom the way Yensid is, yet Yensid does have both of his eyes intact. We may also consider that Luxu is Brain's true master, and a loss of an eye is a recurring curse passed down of this master-student lineage. This is further extrapolated by the fact that Ericus, whom was once Odin's student, had his eye scarred during a disagreement with Master Xehanort. So, like, as you can see, this eye thing it's not exclusive to the Master of Master, and it's not even exclusive to people who have had their eye damaged or lost. So you look at Ericus, you look at Bragi, you look at Odin, you look at, of course, Master of Masters, but then you look at characters who have one eye covered, like Ienzo. You know, all these characters are purporting this kind of one-eyed Jack idea out there, you know. But, you know, I use the Marvel Odin here. I thought that would be a good pick for Disney, but doesn't particularly mean anything there, but so this opens up this kind of conversation scope to also Bragi and Brain and Xigbar and Bragi, you know, and like understanding that all that right there is one path. And I think that's the next slide. Yes, it is. Perfect. I think I ordered this presentation exactly the way I wanted to logically explain this. Okay. So, from there, you gotta understand that, like, there was no, like, Luxu possessed Brain and sent him to the future or anything like that. That's not how it went down. First of all, like, bodily possession is something terrible. It's the same thing the darknesses are doing to other people. So if you like literally steal a body for anything other than old age, you're doing nothing but robbing the dignity of somebody, you know what I mean? Like, and not even just that, like, if you're stealing it even just to get that youth, you know what I mean? I mean, this is like a core fucking Disney movie, like, trope is that, you know, the youth and beauty of the princess and stuff being envied by, like, the evil queen and shit, you know? That youth and beauty is needed to survive, like, throughout time, basically, and darkness doesn't do this to survive old age. Darkness does this to for its own kind of weird pleasure. It's not the same as humans. Like, the reason, and you gotta understand also, that's why Luxu didn't just straight up possess Brain at the end of Union Cross. You don't need the body now. You need the body when you get too old to go on. I think that, you know, as a Keyblade Master, there's a cleaner way to do this kind of possession trick than how Xehanort did to Terra, but I don't know. I really don't know the mechanics of how that kind of possession goes. What I can tell you is the succession of possession here. Think about, like, Brain, Bragi, Brag, and Xigbar. Like, Luxu doesn't fit that naming convention whatsoever. So with these four names, there's kind of all like an established pattern that Luxu isn't even a part of. And we know that Luxu and Brain existed at the same time, met each other, and were on the way out at the end of the world there. So we also see Brain warp to this future Scala ad Kylum. So, like, no kind of possession has really occurred on Brain's character that we can even tell at all. And so, Bragi, Brag, and Xigbar, for that matter, while clearly having a connection to each other, don't actually speak like Luxu. The phrase "as if" has never been spoken by Luxu, and that's a fact. You can go through Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and Master Luxu, the cloaked version of him, never says "as if." Brag's red scarf also gives a certain rationale to the idea that Brag and Bragi are actually Brain. The ragged and tattered red scarf that Brag wears likely belonged to his best friend Ephemer, who once wore a red scarf many years ago. So you have Brag, who wears this red scarf, and Ephemer, who has a red scarf, and the red scarf is now tattered and torn from just years of abuse. You know, of course, it's survived throughout millennia. As for Brag's red scarf, blah, 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 blah. So you can see why, like, how Brain can go from Bragi. Like, there must be something in Kingdom Hearts Missing Link where Brain actually chooses rebirth, or maybe to stow away within, like, the womb of a pregnant woman or something like that. I don't know. Like, the other thing is, like, when it comes to Bragi, when it comes to hold on, we got more in the chat. Or Brain, for that matter, right? Is saying it. Okay, I missed when he said that, but so, like, when it comes to Bragi and Master Odin, I want you to think about this student-master relationship here for a second. How did Master Odin not realize that Bragi is not who we think he is? How did Master Odin, like, is Master Odin just that unskilled in just bad as a Keyblade Master that he's not only, like, loses 11 lives of his children, but isn't even aware how to use his powers to look inside the hearts of his student and see that Bragi isn't who he says he is? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think that Master Odin knew that Bragi or Brain was among the classmates. And this is this is one of these moments where I have some hard conjecture, because I don't have any evidence to say that they were aware of each other, you know what I mean? But like, I think that Luxu and Brain, at least in some capacity, were aware of each other. Now, that wouldn't diminish Master Odin being gravely upset at the death of 10 of his students instead of 11. Because if he knew Bragi was capable and could survive and keep the secret by himself, he wouldn't need to contact him still. But it raises questions about how Master Odin really knows about Bragi, you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, peering over at chat. But you guys get the idea, right? Like, from Brain to Bragi, how did he just slip in among the classmates? Like, how did that happen? How did nobody notice? Okay? So, moving on, and we got a shout out for Captain Kai. As Captain Kai pointed out, N is the 14th letter of the alphabet, while G is the 7th. This may give some insight as to Brain's name being shifted from Brain to Brag. Typically, 7 and 13 are the important numbers, but there is also a subtle emphasis on 14 preceding 13. For instance, Xi'an being the 14th member of Organization 13, or how the 10-4 building is actually referred to 10-4. Interestingly enough, as Fret said in Neo, The World Ends With You, 104 or 104 or is apparently want to die in Chinese. That's something I heard. I don't know if that's true or a rumor or whatever, but apparently 104 is something like want to die in Chinese. I found that like really weird, like, and very fitting for the themes within The World Ends With You. So moving along, the mystery surrounding Subject X. Okay, and this is how this theory like lines up with Subject X. So let me break it down for you. Like if you see Brag now as Brain rather than Luxu, like it changes everything about that context in Birth by Sleep. If you look at him through that lens, now you're looking at him through the lens, like you start questioning, like, wait, isn't Ericus supposed to be related to him by blood? And they're walking around at the same time in the era? Wait, and both of their scars were, like, or their eyes were scarred in this era too? Like there's these things that were, like, weird, meaningfully coincidences, like, now kind of have more concrete backing to them. So let's consider in place of Subject X, Brain is Brag or Luxu or Xigbar, whatever form he's at, right, when this happens. Ansem the Wise knows where Subject X is, theoretically, because Ansem Seeker of Darkness came asking him if he knew, and he forbid to help him. But we never really got a complete answer on how much he really knew. Now, Brag or Xigbar or whoever had the eye patch moved Subject X. And Subject X and Subject X being moved means that sorry, train of thought. Alright, basically Brain was the one who found Skuld. If Subject X is Skuld, Brain found her. Brain moved her. Brain put her in a safe place. Like, the plot thickens so much from that. Now, I have other theories on Subject X I'm not going to get into too deep here. It has more to do with Xi'an's true identity. I think that Skuld plays a role in that. But I'm not going to get into that here. What I want to focus on here is how considering Brain as Bragi instead of Luxu changes the context of everything you understand about him in Birth by Sleep. Now, I do question if Bragi was loyal to Ansem the Wise all the less, because if it's Brain, then you would think he's working for the good guys. So, but we don't know how motives change throughout time. We don't know why he's decided to play the bad guy if that's Brain, We don't even know why Luxu is doing that. Like, Luxu was asked to hide the box and, survive and blah, 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 but he wasn't asked to go and play bad guy, you know what I mean, and get involved with the Team of Darkness. None of that was really called for him. I mean, he was asked to be a vessel for darkness, yes, but that was way at the beginning of time, you know what I mean? Like, so I don't, like, you know what I mean? Like, there's, and I'm just talking out fucking loud here at that too. I'm sorry, I had a moment, a brain fart. So Bragi, you know what? Speaking of brain fart, like, this is, like, I'm smoking and I'm doing my thing here, so don't mind me. Okay, so now that you can visualize Brain as Bragi instead of Luxu, get out of your head that Luxu is at all who becomes Xigbar. There's, like, now that you understand that potentially he's Odin, rewrite everything you know in your head and consider now that Brain has been Bragi this entire time. That is how you have to start looking at this point in this theory. Because if you keep on going back to Xigbar and be like, oh, well, he's Luxu, and what you've been conditioned to is what you see at face value. And that's what you believe, instead of believing what is really going on here, what subtleties have been shown to you that is really telling you the breadcrumbs of the truth. Look really closely at Bragi, and, like, my picture is off center here. Like, what's the next slide? Where are we going with this too? I don't want to lose track of what I'm thinking. The hell. Can we, next slide, please? Okay, Luxu and Brain are, like, also likely working together throughout time, even if not direct correspondence. We can't really prove that yet. We can't really prove that Yensid and Brain or Xigbar are really going to show up with each other, you know what I mean? Like, who knows what Xigbar is planning at this point, you know? But I do get the sense that if Luxu is Yensid and Brain is Xigbar, that in a sense they have been in some kind of correspondence with each other. It really comes down to whether we can trust Brain or not as a character, you know what I mean? Like, if his motives are actually pure and in line with doing the right thing. The very next thing is that it was after Yensid's appearance in the Keyblade Graveyard that the Guardian's Light can move forward. So I also wanted to mention, like, layered on top of the fact that you have, like, the Terran time and stuff and all that jazz, the box, like, appears almost magically. Like, and there are a couple explanations I have for this. But you also have Yensid appearing in the Keyblade Graveyard at right before they enter the Skein of Severance. The next battle is Dark Riku and Xigbar. So it's not even long after they get inside that, like, Yensid has shown up. Now, I don't know if Yensid, like, okay, is the type to meet somebody shady behind the scenes and, like, meet up with Xigbar and, like, talk to him about the box and stuff, you know what I mean? I don't think that's truly what happened here. Or if Yensid even played a role in revealing the box. I don't know, but I find it a strange coincidence that Yensid also appeared at that time, and there's this kind of layered effect of, like, okay, what really made the box appear, you know? Because I don't think it was a Terran time. What Xigbar is really... what Xigbar says in his kind of character file is that there's a difference between knowing and understanding. And the difference between knowing and understanding is, like, let me put it this way. If I told you darkness is real, and you'd laugh at me and be like, yeah, darkness is real, duh. Like, I can clearly see it's dark over there, you know? But if I told you more in the sense, like, the way Neon says, like, chaos isn't just a fairy tale, you know what I mean? If, like, in Final Fantasy Stranger of Paradise, hold on, there's more chat. Let me wrap up this thought. If I say, like, darkness the way Neon says in Stranger of Paradise, chaos is more than just a fairy tale, you know what I mean? It's real. Suddenly you acknowledge this presence in the room. Like, it's almost the way you summon your Chirithy and you call Chirithy, and Chirithy just like, yeah, I'm here, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, the Chirithy is always there. It's just you acknowledge its existence and now you can see it. And that's something that, like, the reason the Master of Masters is friends with this darkness thing is because at some point he acknowledged its existence. He's always been aware of it, but couldn't really fight it, so he had to just call a truce with it. And so you get used to being its friend, even though you can't stand being around it. Okay, so I'm going to read some of the chat from Kai. Not to conflict with the thought process, but have you looked into the secret reports and characters files to see if it still lines up with this? I haven't looked at them in some time. Actually, yes, all the dots I'm connecting here fall into place, like, so disgustingly well. With and I'm gonna go. The next part I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the secret reports video on Bragg's Recompletion. And I'm going to live stream this, and I'm going to slowly go over why this makes sense in a different context with Brain. Like, it's really incredible when you get down to it. So that's a Hermetic philosophy pushes the idea of knowing and understanding. Yeah, I mean, it's really impressive. Like, when you understand that, like, the darkness entity is, like, a real thing, and then it's like, it appears in the room, you're like, oh shit, it's actually real, you know what I mean? Like, you have to understand that first. And it's the same thing with the black box. The thing that Xigbar accuses Maleficent and Pete of being idiots for is they're looking for any old black box. They don't have the prototype image of what this black box is in mind. They don't understand what the box is. So there's a difference between knowing about, oh, there's a black box, and there's the black box, you know what I mean? It's really amazing. It's basically like, when you know, it's like, okay, you've got a grasp, but when you understand, you get why. Like, oh, it's that moment of revelation that makes everything all the more real. Okay. If Xigbar's brain is loyal to Ansem Wise and cohort to Yensid or the real Luxu, implies Xigbar is a benevolent character and most likely stands in opposition to the Master's objectives. The old switcheroo is dependent on nobody, especially the Master, to realize Brain took over Luxu's role, while Luxu chose a different life. This theory overall gives a well-defined rationale as to why Luxu was dubbed the traitor and why Disney Castle has relevance to the plot. Okay, so Like, basically what I've explained to you guys is that Luxu becomes Yensid, like, basically establishes Disney Castle as the force of light in the universe to be the regulator of everything, like, you know, the world order, basically. The reason Luxu is dubbed a traitor is because he basically shirked his role and gave it to Brain. Brain comes up with an idea to one-up the Master's plan. And I think Luxu goes along with it because Brain is a smart guy. And the reason it makes sense to do this is because it gives Brain a better chance of being closer to the Master's ambitions and understanding what his true goals are. Because for Brain at the beginning of time here, he has no context of what the Master is really after, you know. And the only way to really do that is to get close to him, you know. Not only that, but Luxu feels very raw about his destiny, you know what I mean? Like, imagine just getting dumped the weight of the world on your shoulders, basically, you know? Well, like, look, everything I'm doing is counting on you. And, you know, you're expected to just survive with the ski blade. So, you know, I know a lot of people empathize with Luxu, and I think he handled that well, but you got to also remember that he is woefully underprepared to handle this task as a human being, you know. This is my brain work overtime, no pun intended. Love it. I'm glad I can be entertaining with this. I'm really trying to make sure, like, before I went live with this, I wanted to make sure I got all my facts straight here. So, like, I'm not, like, if I'm over embellishing or making some kind of conjecture, I will definitely, like, precursor with that just so that I can, be clear on what I'm saying here. Okay. And I also, this is an honorable mention here because this, like, it makes a ton of sense in some regards. So, my friend Bexroom had really nailed this, like, connection here. Okay, Chernobog, whom has fought in Kingdom Hearts 1, guards the entrance to the deepest darkness, the final boss. Chernobog, of course, comes from Fantasia, but doesn't have explicit connection to the brief narrative that is the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Chernobog is a devilish entity that allowed the souls of the damned to frolic in lustful hedonistic joy for a night on Bald Mountain. Now, consider that the Symphony of Sorcery was a sleeping world, meaning at one point, especially in the time frame of Kingdom Hearts 1, the mysterious tower was a sleeping world. A sleeping world is one that fell asleep due to darkness overwhelming it. This might indicate that Chernobog is a super heartless created when Yensid and his well fell into darkness. Now, imagine that. Chernobog is this, like, really, he looks like a Heartless, you know, this really gigantic demon-esque creature, the symbol of, Satan and lust and hedonism and stuff, you know, that is the darkness of Yensid. And, like, wow, when you put it in that perspective, does it match up with Luxu and the 7 deadly sin title of lust, you know? So all that being said, I think we can move on to the last part of this theory. Yes. Okay. No. Go back. Yeah. Okay. We're going to move on to the last part of this theory. And this is going to be all about Brain, basically. And trying to understand how this played out. So, as you can see, I have, through his different his different incarnations, I would have liked to include also the incarnations where he has his scar, Yes, the incarnation where he has a scar. I did not include this model on this picture, but it's a very important part here. Now, you see, I've also included Chirithy, and that's for a reason. We will get there. Okay, so first you have Brain, right? And mind you, again, this is saying that Xigbar has nothing to do with Luxu. He is not Luxu, and when he says he is lying and pretending to be Luxu. Now, good. Brain survives throughout time and becomes Bragi. There is some kind of task he is charged with, like, let's see, it was a Darkness who mentioned the Chosen One. Anyways, I think that Brain will survive throughout time. I like, whether he switches places with Luxu or what he chooses to do, Brain is the one who is Bragi. The missing link will reveal that. I just don't know how that works. But as I've explained before, like, with Master Odin, could he not tell that Bragi was somebody else this entire time? Was he that blind in his eyes, I guess? You know what I mean? So from Bragi to Bragi, we also have no context. We don't know. We will just assume, for even all intents and purposes, this is like some kind of even rebirth that he can recall who he is, you know? I mean, we are aware that player is able to recall his first and second life for whatever, or his first life for whatever reason. So, we can almost infer that maybe if there is a cycle of rebirth going on here, then maybe he can remember his next life. I don't know. Now, when it comes to Brain, we have to talk about Bragi. We have to talk about some interesting shit. And I'm about to flip over to the Secret Reports video, but like, I just want to establish kind of a narrative here that I wrote down. Where are you? Notes. Okay, we're in guided access, so that's why. Okay. It is what I think really happened during the collapse of Daybreak Town and how this led up to Xigbar. Alright, so what really happened? During the collapse of Daybreak Town, Luxu gave his no-name to Brain along with the box. Luxu also teaches Brain an important technique for Keyblade Masters, something Master Ephemer doesn't quite know himself: the ability to transfer your heart into another vessel. Luxu gives the box to Brain because the temptation to open it is too great. There is no rule against anyone other than Luxu opening it. Luxu lives on, maybe even encountering Ephemer and teaching him the secret. Meanwhile, Brain, with the box out of curiosity, opens the box and is warped to the future of terrestrial Scala ad Kylum. Whatever story occurs during Missing Link will establish the individual world order and the need to keep the worlds a secret from each other. Luxu becomes Master Odin, retaining a teaching role to the new Keyblade wielders. Ephemer eventually passes away, choosing rebirth. We know his heart or soul waited for Sora along the Keyblade graveyard. Brain, who was warped to Scala ad Kylum, retains his age. Odin is most likely aware of Brain. At some point, Brain transfers his heart into Bragi. Later, it is assumed Bragi is dead. Whether Odin knows this or not is uncertain. Odin is filled with regret, becomes Yensid, and establishes Disney as a force of light in the universe. Bragi hides himself in Radiant Garden, now known as Bragi. Bragi is scarred by Terra, a timestamp that proves Bragi was possessed after his fight with Terra. And more on that in a moment. Bragi becomes a vessel for Xehanort before becoming a nobody. Bragi loses his heart when Ansem stabs him with no name. We do not see his heart regress into a heartless. he becomes Xigbar, and his appearance has significantly altered, along with a ponytail and gray hair. However, this is not a sign of aging. His heart could have been reinserted, as he just pretended to be a nobody. From Bragi to Xigbar, there is not a change in personality that causes him to bend his moral compass. With gray hair and ponytail, Xigbar is one of the more emphasized changes in appearance of all organization members, including Zexian's height, Axel's teardrops, and Zaldan's dreadlocks. Nobodies don't change in appearance because they are nobodies. We are aware that possession can change the physical features of a person. Namely, Xehanort's possession turns Terra's hair white. Bragi's use of the term "as if" before the end of Birth by Sleep implies he originally is the same person as Bragi. A second possession, however, needs to have occurred after the fight with Terra. I believe this possession specifically is what causes Xigbar's ponytail and gray hair. I can only find one culprit to this possibility: Chirithy. Though briefly shown in Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, we do see a scene where Brain summons his Chirithy. This Chirithy was a bit bothered about being summoned because Brain usually only asks it to do stuff for him. I could characterize Brain as more utilitarian with his Chirithy than friends with it. I propose that the reason Xigbar's gray hair and ponytail is Chirithy possessing the body to alter the appearance. Now, I know that sounds like a fucking strange claim, that a Chirithy is possessing fucking Xigbar, and that's really what's going on here. Oh my god, that sounds fucking asinine, Gummy Phone. How could you possibly even suggest that, you know? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go over to Twitter real quick. Twatter. And I'm going to show you on my profile some of the comparison images. So let's look at Xigbar here and Chirithy. Like, look at his hair. Let's look at Chirithy's stripes. Maybe we need to go back and forth a little bit, but 1, 2, 1, 2. But, look at that pattern. I've wondered for so fucking long, why he has these gray streaks in his hair. And I was going through some old interviews last week, and Tetsuya Nomura explained in an interview that the gray in Xigbar's hair, all of these extra features aren't signs due to aging. Like, if it weren't for everything else, he should still look exactly like Bragi is in Birth by Sleep. But he has a series of things going on with him. So the first being the scar from fighting Terra and losing his eye. The second being he has a fragment in Xehanort. The important thing about having the fragment of Xehanort is now that he's a Xehanort, he can travel throughout time as he needs to, along with young Xehanort. Now the young Xehanort can take him along for the ride, basically, Now, look at that hair, though. Look at the hair. The hair didn't change until after he was a Nova. Until, when he lost his heart, we don't see what happens next, and then the next thing we know, he's Xigbar the Nobody that is in Organization 13. But you're not going to sit in here and tell me that pattern isn't matching up here with Chirithy. You're not going to tell me that's not the same color scheme, the same design, the spikes, the pattern, the way it wraps around the head there, that, I'm fucking dead serious. That, I'm not even joking. That, the ponytail, look at Chirithy's little tail back there. You imagine the fusion, like, causes a ponytail as the effect, you know what I mean? What? Like, I know what I'm saying here is ridiculous, but, like, bear with me because, like, now I'm going to go to the secret reports. The video where she explains that, Brag's Recompletion. We're gonna watch that, but instead of watching it with the mind that, this is Luxu, we're gonna watch it with the mind that this is actually Brain and not Luxu. Because it makes more sense this way.
It's just not right. Nah, I need to try something new.
And we're forced to watch shitty ads.
Dorito. Let's try it.
Hold on. Alright, I'm sorry, I don't mean to put ads on. Nobody likes
This
ads.
video
Okay.
references events between Birth by Sleep and Kingdom Hearts 1. In the description is a link to an organized and well-supported timeline to help people better
can
understand
barely hear it,
this
so I'm gonna
era.
have to put on closed captions. Sorry. Okay. And it's probably loud as shit for you guys, but I really can't tell. Here, I'm gonna turn down the volume, but I really want to...
Now that we know Xigbar is Luxu, there's
So,
something else
okay.
about him I
So
think we're...
the preface of this video is now that we know Xigbar is Luxu. That statement works if we analyze it, like, with the lens of Luxu, you know what I mean? But it doesn't, like, now that we're looking at it with Brain, you have to ad-lib that every time. I really want to drive that home.
And we'll
here.
explore a few possibilities. But before that, let's connect and analyze 3 cutscenes. Cutscene 1. Apprentice Xehanort unlocking Brag's heart with no name.
Okay, so
It
here
takes
he
place
loses his
after
heart.
Birth by Sleep. Notice Evan and Dienzo's locations and poses on the floor. Cutscene 2. Young Xehanort and Brag walk across the lab surrounded by the recompleted crew. Generally, it takes place after Coded's main story. Maybe early
What I really
Dreamdrop
want to get to is
distance,
more to
but
the
that's
end of
just
the
my
video. I don't think I
suspicion
want
that's
to,
not
like,
confirmed.
go through this entire
And
video combing
cutscene 3.
through, like, the spots I'm
Axel
trying to
and the
explain
others
here.
waking up as humans
So,
again, with mostly everyone in the same
I
positions on the
do
floor.
want to
So here
speak
is a
on
timeline
the
of
subject
these
of...
nobodies. Because of this,
Like,
I believe
I think
Dylan
she's
is a
about to talk
model
about Dylan here. There's
inconsistency.
kind of like...
Staff
So
probably
basically,
thought his younger appearance
with-
looked similar enough to his older one, and that no one would notice if they just reused his
let all
Birth by
3
Sleep
images
design.
pop up on the screen here. So basically with Dylan, you know, we could chalk up those wild dreads to as Zaldin to a kind of model inconsistency. I don't know. Like, if you've been following my channel, you know that I think Dylan has something more to do with Sigurd. I think there might be more deeper developments with his character later on. But I don't know to what extent, like, his purpose serves. You know what I mean? So far, I can only really peg him as somebody who is reincarnated, but that's it. Like, I don't really know how him and Alias really fit into this picture, if there's more to them that meets the eye. I would really hope so, because I don't think, like, first of all, Dylan got this isn't about Dylan. Fuck it, I need to move on here. So,
Completely.
I just wanted to,
honestly,
like, clarify, as she does in this video, that this isn't an effect that's produced due to aging. They kind of just put him back at what he was. He might have been just even wearing his hair differently. His hair is quite long, you know what I mean? Just have a few dreads loose because he's cutting back and being more wild. Don't know. When it comes to the younger members who aged into adulthood, like Yenzo and Lee and Isa, they grew taller But nobody got so old that they started getting gray hair except for Xigbar. And for somebody who reveals himself to be an ancient being, yeah, maybe we can chalk that up to that too. But I still don't think so. The ponytail and gray hair are not features that are like, oh, he's a nobody now and he just has them. That's not how being a nobody works. So you know what I mean? Like, you don't just change appearance because you're a nobody. There's something else going on. Like, the exceptions to the rule was Sora and Roxas, but we knew that Ventus was with Sora, right? And where, like, Xehanort was possessing Terra, and you had Terranort, who became Ansem and Xemnas. So, like, there are exceptions, but it's usually when there's more at play than just what meets the eye, you know?
If you
I've got this paused on the spot for a while, but I really do want to jump to the important parts here instead of trying to, like, go through the entire video. Okay.
He's not as relevant.
Here they break down the, how basically Xehanort possesses Terra and you get Terranort. Then when they split into, Heartless and Nobody, you get Xemnas, and, when they are defeated, Terra was restored, but that is because Terra Xehanort is in Kingdom Hearts 3 because Xehanort just possesses him again. But like Terra is restored at that time, and and so that's kind of like important in understanding how like you restore. So now picture with Xigbar, somebody's possessing him. We know that a Keyblade Master can, you know, insert their heart into others and possess others throughout time and stuff. Blah, 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 blah. The thing about that, the thing that is explained in this video
sleep later in Kingdom Hearts. However, this theory has
is that Bragi has a scar when he's recompleted. And the fact that he has that scar means that he got possessed after his fight with Terra. Because the resets in your aging when your Heartless and Nobody are defeated go to the point when it happened. So the possession that in question happened after the fight with Terra. Now, Bragi does notably change after that fight, because he does have the scar and bandages now, but also because his eyes have turned yellow and he's gained the elven ears, which has also been confirmed to be a part of having Nomura infused, or not Nomura, a part of having Xehanort infused, right? So the instead of that being the occurrence, the real occurrence that needs to be drawn into question comes at the next spot over, and that's the split. Why does he now have gray hair at the split? And again, I can't drive home enough. It has been stated in an interview, it is not due to aging. Why is it like that? It has really plagued me for a long time here. And I think that the Chirithy thing that I explained not too long ago
just before but here is where
really sells the idea.
But still, part existing at this time, like Master Xehanort, Terra, and Xemnas in Kingdom Hearts 3, it does follow Terra and Xehanort's logic, but it's... still a lot
she's about to explain in this video
only after his
like
battle
here
with
she
Terra,
explains
since his restored body still has a scar and eye
the scar
patch.
thing.
But I personally think Bragi
she also
was always
says that,
possessed in Birth
you
by
know,
Sleep, so I'd love discussion.
She personally
on this.
thinks that Bragi was always possessed. So here's where my theory reconciles those two thoughts, because if Brain was always possessed in the first place.
Theory also
we're
contradicts
gonna pause on
restored body
like
still
some kind
has
of image.
A scar and
so if Brain was always possessed when he was Bragi, or if Brain was always Bragi, then that's the initial possession, right? But the possession in question we're talking about happened after the heart left the body. So, or not after the heart left. Yeah, after the heart left the body. Or it's something that's got to give Xigbar the gray hair, you know. So let's assume that Bragi was always the, as we know, Brain. Later on, when the heart gets released, the next question we have is, did his heart go back into his body? Like, as somebody with master level power, and we're in the assumption that he's Luxu, right? And that we watch this and think he's Luxu. Shouldn't he be able to reinsert his heart or control himself, protect himself from becoming a heartless or what have you? Like, there are some like strange inconsistencies of what is going to occur with his heart after it leaves his body, because we never get shown what happens next, you know? Now, like I said, if Chirithy is the reason Xigbar's hair looks the way it does, if a certain possession allowed that to happen, during that heart reinsertion, or like maybe Chirithy protected his heart somehow, I don't know. But I do know Brain has a Chirithy and Xigbar's hair looked like it's fucking pelt. Now...
But I personally think Bragi was always possessed in Birth by Sleep, so I'd love discussion on this.
Always looked...
This theory also contradicts
Kingdom
Hearts
so
3's
we kind of can smooth over that inconsistency that she was kind of considering here when we look at it as Brain and how that happened.
Rely on young Xehanort's power to time travel, since he can, quote, transcend time and space.
So...
explains this. That this Manglers is there for Isa, who belongs by nature of the room.
I'm kind of looking for another one that I spotted that was like, okay, this makes more sense. Like, when you look at it as Brain.
Technically younger Xigbar in this theory, time traveled to this time, Sora of his fate, and to find the hearts connected to his. So that relation may come back to Recoded's secret ending. However, this wouldn't explain older Xigbar, and why he's not on the floor with everyone else after being recompleted.
Right, and she's calling him older Xigbar here, so
soon after
operating on the assumption that Xigbar's gray hair is due to his aging, you know, it doesn't really add up.
Maybe.
Right?
Luxu's ability to insert or expel his heart. Luxu states in Observations Excerpt 2 that he was so to me that ability, or was this ability overpowered and prevented since it was no name a keyblade that unleashed his heart?
Was he just overpowered here?
But I still want the prologue to Dream Drop Distance. I get how Xigbar should be on the floor next to them when he's not. Ancient Keyblade War, Bragi having his own independent plans. And the fact that this scene is unlocked immediately after Yensid reveals to Mickey that Master Xehanort will be recompleted with his original body. Plus, this scene was appended along with Maleficent talking about the Book of Prophecy. Mount 3 Luxu fact how there's still more going on. I was analyzing these scenes in vain, since it seemed unless after all.
Okay, I think I had really said what I need to say on the subject there.
Without the right start,
you know, you should get it if you're following along this whole time. I hope I wasn't too flighty in my explanations or out there. I tried to be as clear as I can on this, because I know Kingdom Hearts is confusing for a lot of folks, and I just want to get it right for y'all, you know. So I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm thankful for Captain Kai to stop in and say hey. I hope this has been educational. Help you think about things in a different light as well. Because when I make a Kingdom Hearts video, I don't want you to come into my content thinking that, you know, I'm not going to try to give you a different idea than anybody else is thinking. Like, I really want to come up with a unique answer to what is going on here, but based on what I can really see, because obviously your first answer is never the truth with Kingdom Hearts. Like, your first impulse is not, everything is always more than it seems, you know. But anyways, I appreciate you watching this video, and you know, give it a thumbs up or whatever if you enjoyed yourself. So until next live stream, I suppose, and I'm glad I got to try